Let me double check myself before I wreck myself. Why? Because I want this video to actually look nice, right? Hey guys, how's it going? This is Hao Kong, your host for Let's Talk Pack. Now, you might be wondering to yourself, why is Hao alone? Where's Roy? Well, unfortunately, Roy couldn't make it this week, so you just have me instead. But we're going to have a fun time here on Let's Talk Pack with this episode. Anticipation's high as it is kickoff week in the NFL. We're playing games that actually matter right now. We only have one game as of this recording taking place already, with the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Dallas Cowboys, the defending champs, beating down the NFC East rival. And unfortunately for the Cowboys, the performance wasn't as good as expected, but they did put up a fight. Score was 24-20, I believe. Tonight, we have the Chiefs and Chargers. By the time this video comes out, that game will be over. Who knows what the results will be? I think the Chiefs will win because it's Patrick Mahomes. And who doesn't love Patrick Mahomes? And who doesn't love Kelsey, Travis Kelsey? I always called him Kelsey Travis, But hey, everybody loves Travis Kelsey. And sometimes you need a little Taylor Swift in your life. So, eh, I'm a big fan of Taylor Swift. Shout out to Taylor Swift. This coming weekend, we have a couple of games that might be of interest to Packers fans. First, we'll hit game number one here. In the noon slot, you have the Giants versus the Commanders. Now, you might be wondering, why is that of interest to the Packers fans out there? Well, the Packers play the Commanders in 4 days after they play the Lions. So a short week for the Packers. Unfortunately, for the Packers, though, they know what they're doing in terms of practice and things like that. And I think they'll be well equipped to take on the Commanders in a short week. Another game that you might be looking forward to, again, not much interest from Packers fans, but it's a big matchup if you are a football fan. And that is a playoff rematch between the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. You got two MVP candidates with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. See, I almost forgot his name, Josh Allen. Can't forget his name now because he's the MVP last year. So, and he's on my fantasy team, I think, on one of my fantasy teams. But very interesting matchup, big matchup in the AFC. Again, not too much concern for the Packers, but if you're a football fan, you're gonna enjoy this game. And on Monday night, you have the Vikings and the Bears battling it out in an NFC North battle. Very intriguing matchup for Packers fans who are watching this. Why? Because they're NFC North rivals for us, and it's just interesting to see how the younger or the youth of the Bears and the Vikings are with the quarterback situation. You have Caleb Williams on one end, who is in his second year, and then you have JJ McCarthy, who is in his second year, but he didn't play all last year. He was out with an injury last year. So it'll be interesting to see how these two teams will play, especially on the offensive end. Defensive end, I feel like they're all set on both teams, but it'll be interesting to see how the two teams play out. Moving on, let's talk about the Packers. And this week, the Packers haven't done too much this week. Just had a couple of practices, not too much in roster moves. So, a really quiet week for the Packers as they prepare to take on the Detroit Lions this Sunday. In terms of roster moves, the Packers did make a roster move. Again, it's not a player getting released or anything, but a player getting extended. And that player is punter Dan Whalen, who is signed for 2 years. His contract is worth $6.2 million with a $2.1 million signing bonus. Great job for Dan Whalen, who is a game changer for us in special teams. He has the ability to change field position when it comes to pinning your opponent deep in their own territory. What does this mean? Well, it means that the Packers have extended all three of their core special team group. That includes Brandon McManus, that includes the long snapper Matt Orzich. I think that's how you pronounce it. If I butchered it, I apologize. But then now you have Dan Whalen. So now you get your three core special teams players on the team for the next couple of years, which is great for Rich Pasaccia, who is the special teams coordinator. Looks like he feels very comfortable with his core special teamers there. So that's what it means with Daniel Whaling getting extended. Moving on to the Packers injury report. Um, some injuries that you need to look out for in terms of players that might not be able to play on Sunday. The Packers coming out with injury report a couple hours ago as of this recording. Um, Good news, all 53 men who are on the roster um, participated in practice today. Most of them were limited though, the ones that were injured, with the exception of Jordan Love, who was taken off the injury report. Now, looking at the injury report that they released today, a couple key names that you're looking up on there. You have Micah Parsons, who is questionable on Sunday with a back injury. He was very limited throughout the whole week, but we'll see. He tends to be leaning towards playing on Sunday, but again, with the questionable, status right now, I do think he's going to play this Sunday. Couple other notable injuries. You got Jaden Reed, who's questionable with a foot injury. He was also limited all week, but that is a big question mark coming into the game against the Lions. The Packers really do need Jaden Reed out there because right now you have a wide receiver core that is very injured right now. You have Jaden Reed, you have Dontavian Wicks, who is out with a calf injury. Um, but he's also questionable. I misspoke there. He's also questionable with a calf injury. He was limited all week during practice too. Couple other injuries that you might notice on here. You have Nate Hobbs, who is questionable. He's been out since the preseason, I think the beginning of training camp, just with a knee injury. He had surgery on it, but again, very limited. We'll see if he is out there on the field on Sunday. Then you have Elton Jenkins, who is questionable with a hip injury. Uh, very limited during practice, also. Again, you're noticing a trend here. A lot of these players are limited during practice. Only player that was on the injury list earlier this week, Jordan Love, he was actually taken off the injury list, so full participant, and he's expected to play this Sunday. Speaking of Sunday, the Packers again. If I haven't mentioned it, they're playing the Lions this week. So again, big game for the Packers. It's the opening game of the 2025 NFL season. Things I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to how the Packers offense is going to play against the Detroit defense. There's a lot of things that you're kind of looking at when it comes to the Packers offense. Will Jordan Love get off to a hot start this year? Will Josh Jacobs be the main guy in the offense? Defensively, again, the biggest news here, Micah Parsons. Whether or not he plays or not, we'll see. But it'll be interesting to see if he does play, how he fits into this Packers offense and how much he can uh, learn in within a week. He might be on a snap count. He might be a third down rusher. We'll see. But again, it'll be interesting to see how the Packers use Micah Parsons. Here are some keys to the game that I feel like the Packers need to do to beat the Detroit Lions. Again, the Packers right now, they're on a two-game losing streak against the Lions. They lost the series last year. The Packers haven't won against the Lions since 2023, Thanksgiving of 2023. But the Lions seem to have the Packers number right now. And for the Packers, it's important to kind of turn that around. So, what do the Packers have to do to win? First and foremost, they need to get off to a fast start. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the offense needs to set the tone. Um, Feed Josh Jacobs the ball. In the last game the Packers won against the Lions, you saw the Packers get off to a very fast start. And that set the tone for the game. You could remember, if you remember correctly, Christian Watson on the first play caught a deep ball, and that set the tone for the game. That told the Lions, hey, we're not going away easily. And for the Packers, they need to set that tone. Whether they get the ball first on offense, on defense, they need to set the tone there also. So if they're on the field on defense first, they need to set the tone there. If Micah Parsons plays, set the tone. Get a sack on the first drive. You know, pump up that crowd. On offense, they need to feed Josh Jacobs the ball. He is the centerpiece of this offense, along with Jordan Love. I'd say if you want, sling it, buddy. Sling it all over the place. And this is just me as a fan. Um, with Josh Jacobs, though, if you want to play it safe, Josh Jacobs is your man. He's the veteran of this group. He can control the game with his running. And again, he is kind of like the nebula sort of this Packers offense. So if you keep feeding him the ball, you know, you're gonna wear down this defense. Just feed Josh Jacobs the ball, he'll control the game. That helps out the defense. Um, but then for the offense, um, also Jordan Love set the tone for the game. Start off with some short passes, maybe get a long pass, get Matthew Golden involved in the game. Um, but again, just get off to a fast start on offense. On defense, just force turnovers. The defense cannot let the running game dictate the game at all. You got Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery on the other side here with the Lions. They basically took over the game last year. In both games, you saw those two just take over the game. Basically, whoever has the best running game will probably win this game. You also need to stop Amon-Ra St. Brown. He is a Packers killer. And I hate saying that because he's had the Packers number. And it's very hard to say that because he is a very cocky wide receiver, but he's very confident too. And he's caught a couple touchdown passes against the Packers. Unfortunately, last year for the Packers, they didn't have Jerry Alexander both games, their top corner. And then this year, you don't have him. You have Keyshawn Nixon right now as the top corner, but it is very imperative to stop St. Brown because if you let him control the game there, you know, he'll gain more confidence throughout the game, and that's a killer for the Packers. Now, if you're looking for my game prediction, well, you're asking the wrong guy. Just kidding. Um, you know, I think the Packers have a chance of winning this. But based on the track record, and this is the first time I'm going to do this on Let's Talk Pack, unfortunately, I do think the Packers take um, a loss. And unfortunately, yes, it's the first time I'm doing the Packers a bad thing here. Yeah, and I hope I'm wrong. I'm being realistic. I really do think that the Packers are just too young right now, and you know it's just the beginning of the season. Uh, I I don't think the Packers are gonna win in a blowout loss, but it's gonna be a close game. Let's do 20-17. Lions with the win. I know I'm gonna take a lot of slack for it, but let's hope I'm wrong. Fingers crossed. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll be at the game along with Roy, who isn't here, but we'll both be at the game. If you see us at the game, please say hi. We're always very friendly people to meet, and we're very friendly when it comes to Packer games too. Even if you're a Lions fan, believe it or not, we're both very friendly to Lions fans. We've dealt with that since we were in college. We went to college up in Northern Michigan, so we've dealt with Lions fans, and we're cool with them, most of them. But yep, feel free to say hi, grab a beer, doesn't matter. But let's enjoy the game on Sunday. Hopefully, again, I'm wrong with my prediction. I want to thank you guys for joining me today on Let's Talk Pack. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, Roy will be with us. But as always, go Pack Go.